just huddle up and you're going to give her an example.
I now call this meeting of Davenport Community School Board of Directors to
I
order.
want to hear this.
Director Snyder, would you please read the board priorities?
Board priorities read, the Davenport School Board establishes the following priorities to ensure the academic success of all students: to provide leadership and direction to improve the overall learning environment in our classrooms, schools, and district, including the health, safety, security, and happiness of students and staff, and to direct and support actions, programs, and activities which reduce the impacts of poverty on our students, their families, and our community.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Director Hayes, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Yes, I'll be happy to. The mission statement is to enhance each student's abilities by providing a quality education enriched by our diverse community. Vision statement is to education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Hayes. Up first on the agenda tonight, we have a few presentations, so I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you. As many of you have seen in the newspaper, we've had a very productive, very outstanding winter, spring, heading into summer athletic programs in our district. And so to kind of highlight some of that, I have asked our athletic directors to come and speak about some of our all-conference athletes and some of the outstanding student athletes that we have in our district. Mr. Mosier was unable to make it tonight, so Garrett Eagle is going to speak for him, and we also have Mr. Peterson from Central with us today. So guys, thank you so much for coming tonight and celebrating our student athletes with us.
All right, good evening. Mr. Mosier wanted to apologize for not being able to make it tonight. He's ill, so I said I would be glad to help him out. For what we're doing is recognizing our all-conference for the spring sports. And so I'll start with North High School. And the first sport we're going to go through is girls track. First is Morgan Newmeyer, girls track for discus, second team all-conference. Marissa Stolfa, discus, honorable mention. And for the distance medley, honorable mention, Shyla Stofers, Sophia Tensley, Cameron Becker, and Kayla Overton. For boys track, we have Joe Martinez for the open 400 meters, second team all conference, and the sprint medley relay, second team, Cohen Dibburn, James Porter, Joe Martinez, and Giovanni Rivera. And then also for boys track, the 4x2 relay honorable mention is Giovanni Rivera, Xavier Visi, James Porter, and Alan Deneau. For boys soccer, we have Chase Green, first team forward, Jaden Fox, first team defender, George Rucker, second team midfielder, Kyle Bitterman, and Ben Roberts, both honorable mentions. For girls soccer, we have Logan Brown, second team, Lauren Heyman, honorable mention, and Emma Duran, honorable mention. Boys tennis, Kyler Earl, honorable mention. Girls tennis, Samantha Wingate and Marissa Zamora, both honorable mentions. And for girls golf, Maddie Wardlow, second team all conference. So congratulations to North High School, Mississippi Athletic Conference, all conference honorees. For West High School, for boys soccer, we have Caleb Haas, defender, second team, all conference. Girls track, we have 400 low hurdles, first team, Ashley Smith. 3,000 meter, second team, Kylie Daly. And shuttle hurdle, second team, all conference, Ashley Smith, Isabel Sinkson, Alexandria Peterson, Caitlin Powell. The distance medley, second team, Abby Smith, Alexandria Peterson, Caitlin Powell, and Kylie Daly. Our discus honorable mention, Ashlyn Utterback. 100 hurdles honorable mention, Alexandria Peterson. 1500 meter run, honorable mention, Kylie Daly. For boys track, high jump first team, Ashton Ermy. 100 meter second team, Nazion Carruthers. 200 meter second team, Nazion Carruthers. And the 4x1 relay, honorable mention, Nazion Carruthers, Jackson Huffstetler, Reggie McCrae, and Morgan Schneiderman. For boys tennis, Luke Loving was first team all conference, Dominic De La Paz, honorable mention, and Joseph Chalupa, honorable mention. Girls tennis, Molly Daly and Kathy Trung, both honorable mentions. And for girls golf, Abigail Paper, second team all conference. So congratulations to those students at West High School also.
All right, thanks for having me tonight. We'll move on to the Davenport Central All-Conference Spring. In girls golf, Madison Wheat made third team. For boys track, Dane Howard was first team 100-meter dash. Alex Moore was second team shot put. Zy Cook Miller was second team long jump. Micah Green, second team 400-meter run. Bryce Proct, honorable mention, 400-meter run. And Dane Howard was honorable mention for the 200-meter dash. For girls track, Brooklyn Johnson was first team long jump. Nakari Bryant was first team 100 hurdles, and she also placed fourth at state in the 100-meter hurdles. Hannah Ford was honorable mention in the 3,000-meter run. Brooklyn Johnson was honorable mention 400-meter run. Hannah Ford, honorable mention in the 1,500-meter run. Brooklyn Johnson, honorable mention in the 200-meter dash. Anaya Smith, honorable mention 400 low hurdles. And Lois Blackman, honorable mention in the 800-meter run. For boys tennis, Jacob Fee and Jacob Ellsworth, the Jacob guys, were both honorable mention. Girls tennis, I've said her name 100 times. I'm probably going to ruin it again. Maitri Shrikande was first team singles. I think that was pretty close. Ella Skolrud was honorable mention singles, and Emerson Hughes was honorable mention singles. For girls soccer, Addie Ford was first team goalkeeper. Lois Blackman was second team forward. Grace Hutt was second team defender, and Jordan Johnson was second team defender. In boys soccer, Nathan Hummel was first team forward, and it also came out today that he made honorable mention All-State. And I want to give a shout out to Chase Green from North. It came out today that he made second team All-State for soccer as well. Enrique Diaz was first team midfielder, and Ian Hopkins was second team defender. And then along with the spring, we also had a co-coach of the year. Our first year boys soccer coach, Franco Munoz, was voted co-coach of the year as well. So congratulations to all the Central Spring athletes that made all conference.
Any questions for our athletic directors while we have them here? Well, let's give our wonderful athletes a big round of applause. Up next, we have a presentation by Kevin Peterson about our central women's swimming team. So go ahead, Kevin.
If you guys could all stand up, coaches and girls. Our girls swim team not only had an excellent season, but as you'll see when I read this, they had another great accomplishment this year. In a pandemic school year, the girls swim team practiced twice a day, 3 times a week, and Saturdays. They were able to break 6 school records, qualified for state in 7 events, and 2 girls made it to the finals in the state meet. In the conference, there were 3 first-team all-conference members, 6 second-team all-conference members, and 2 honorable mention all-conference members. The girls' swim team shared athletes in the fall with cross-country, volleyball, and cheerleading. Many of the girls are involved in band, show choir, tennis, track, soccer, and golf. They're all very involved. With all these activities, the most impressive stat the girls have achieved this year is earning a team GPA of 3.793. Wow. This places them as All-American Gold Standard Team by the National Interscholastic Swimming Coaches Association of America. 3 seniors were also named to the All-American Academic Team for having GPA greater than 3.75 throughout their high school career, not just this year. You could raise your hand when I call your name. Paige Pearson, Liz Weber, and Gabby Baldry. These girls have worked extremely hard in the pool, the weight room, and obviously really hard in the classroom. And we just want to say that we're really proud of what these girls have achieved. Congratulations. They haven't sent us the plaque yet, otherwise we'd show you guys that too. So.
Any questions about that?
Do any board members have any questions? Director Beck.
First of all, congratulations to all of our athletes who have done so well at the state and national level. But our girls swim team, thank you guys so much for coming down here and letting us celebrate you and your accomplishments. And your academic accomplishments are fantastic. So congratulations and keep up the good work.
Any other board members? Again, congratulations, great work to hit it at the pool, in the weight room, and in the classroom. Kudos to all of you. We look forward to seeing that plaque. If no one else has anything else, you guys are all free to take off out of here.
Thank you guys so much for joining
you.
us tonight. Very much. We're very proud of you and your efforts. Up next, we have our a presentation from the Davenport Community School Museum. We have Roseanne Krubschak with us tonight to kind of give us a something that I think is very unique to Davenport Community Schools and something we're very proud of. An example, graduation during a pandemic was quite the unique thing, and I think it was someone on the board said you should get those masks in the museum. And they're constantly thinking about how we archive and capture our history, and it's actually quite impressive, the dedication that goes into it. So go ahead and take it away.
That was very unique. I asked tonight to come because I wanted to emphasize our partnership with other educational organizations in the area, but I'll start with a little bit of a history. So in 1975, the school board asked the retired teachers if they would form a committee to set up a museum, and that's when it kind of took off from that. So the museum is really under the school board's auspices, but we have our own 501c3 now. So the school district pays for our overhead, but everything else, all the volunteers, anything we buy, anything we paid for, is purchased by paid for by the retired school personnel, and we write grants. And the volunteers come from all over the community. They're not just teachers. We have somebody from the Arsenal, somebody retired from the Corps of Engineers, another teacher, retired teacher and author, and so they all bring unique skills. So, and donations come from all over, and that was just a really unique one that we really appreciated. That came from you. We had someone who sent she lives in Denmark, in the country of Denmark now. She sent her cheerleading tennis shoes and some other things that she had from cheerleading. We had a man from Indiana who found, I should have brought it, a fire hose nozzle that he found at like a garage sale or something, and it said, the first fire hose nozzle from the first Davenport school. So we tracked it down, talking to some retired firemen, and decided about when it was, what it was made, the fiber was made out of. And so anyway, fun things. We also get requests from all over too. Probably one of the most popular ones is genealogy. I want a photo of my grandpa, or we're doing an 80th birthday party, or I want to know when so-and-so went to school. And we're usually able to track them back find them. A lot of requests for class reunions, school building, milestones, authors, and a few years ago, we even had a cold case file investigator come in. She knew that the person she was looking for had graduated from the University of Iowa, so she went there. She wasn't quite satisfied with what she got from them, somehow found out about us, so she came and she was just thrilled. She found a lot of information that was going to help her in that investigation, so that was kind of exciting. To build community awareness and update displays, speeding up our preservation work, which you realize is a lot of work. So the museum board began recruiting interns from St. Ambrose, who has an undergraduate museum studies program, and from Western Illinois, which has a master's degree in museum studies. So we have been really lucky to get them. These interns have been high school graduates from our own Davenport schools, from Bettendorf, Illinois, North Dakota, all over. So with me today is Cassidy Eagleton. She's a West High grad, and I've asked Cassidy to come and talk a little bit about her experience and how she's making the transition between St. Ambrose and Western.
Hi there, thanks for letting me come over today. My name's Cassidy Eagleson. I grew up in the school district. I went to Adams, Williams, and then I graduated from West High in 2015. I went to St. Ambrose, where I got my major in art history with a minor in museum studies. While I was at Ambrose, I went and I was an intern for the Davenport Schools Museum. Through there, I was able to work on collections work with databases like Past Perfect that helps preserve a digital archive of all of their collections. I was able to get that database work in and actually kind of get my hands on some archival quality materials. I was able to learn how to keep things preserved, archived correctly, make some changes that could help benefit the museum and keep things preserved longer. One of the things I did was I took an independent project through one of my courses, and I took old school banners that we found in the storage area, and I went and rehoused them by rolling them and covering them in like a muslin cloth, or actually it was a unbuffered acid-free paper, so it's archival material paper, and was able to tag it and store it so that it could be preserved for longer and be enjoyed for longer periods of time. After I was graduating from, well, soon before I graduated from St. Ambrose, I looked into the master's degree at Western Illinois. St. Ambrose and Western Illinois just rolled out this past year a integrated program. So in my junior year, I got accepted into graduate school, and I started working on my graduate courses while still working on my undergraduate degree. And now I'm at Western Illinois, still working on building up my museum studies background. And without the Davenport School Museum, I wouldn't have been able to get that hands-on experience to really find that this path that I'm going for my future career was something that I actually really, really wanted to pursue for a lifelong career. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Museum jobs are difficult to get, and there aren't that many in the country, right? So we were most pleased when the second intern we had, Nathaniel Kraft, was hired as director of the Bix Museum. And the deciding factor between Nathaniel and another person was the fact that he worked here at the Davenport School Museum. So he had the connections. So he knew we could work together doing some things. He's made, what do you call it, on the internet where they have these trips you can take and who's located where. Okay, so we are close to, so when someone goes to visit the Bix, they also could come to other places in the area, and we're one of those. And Olivia, who is our third intern, is now at part-time at the German American Society, so we're really proud of that. While we attempt to do things with the Hilltop district, we really would like to do more, but most of the events are on Saturdays, and that's a problem with the building being open. So, but anyway, we're trying to reach out. We're open 10 hours a week. Brochures are on the table up front, and come visit us. Any questions? We're on the first floor, we're downstairs. So, any questions from?
Are there any questions? Director Beck.
Of course, I have questions. First of all, thank you all for the work that you're doing. It's really interesting. You know, I've walked past the displays for almost 4 years now, and I didn't realize how much was going into those displays and what the size of the collection was. And so that's really, really impressive. And I love the collaborative work that you're able to do with the local schools, colleges and universities, because that is so important for you to get your feet wet, so to speak. Even if you end up deciding not to do it, you've tried it, right? And so I think that's fantastic and a great collaboration. So thank you so much, and thanks for sharing with us. And I bet if you ask the right person, you can probably get access to the building on the weekend if you want to show the museum off.
Okay, we'll give that a try. Thank you. We did some research trying to find if there were other museums, school district museums in the country, and we found kind of relationship. There were maybe like 5 different ones that maybe, but I think really from what we find, we're really the most organized, thorough, comprehensive one that we could find. So, so cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight and presenting that to us too.
We're on the board, by the way, museum board.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, but
Okay.
and John Border is our liaison with the district.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Our last presentation tonight is about a program that's in our district, and I really like the format of being respectful to the actual presentations of it. So Jake's going to come up and introduce the program tonight, and we've brought some students for you to talk to who are actually in this program, and Principal Montoya is here as well to speak. So Jake, take it away.
Yeah, thank you. So later on in the evening, it's one of the discussion items is challenge to change. So similar to IJAG a few weeks ago, we had people come and talk about it in the school. So we're kind of following the same model tonight. So last year, at the beginning of the year, pre-pandemic, of course, the district really started a heavy focus on social and emotional learning and that whole component as a foundation for learning. And as we started down that journey, and this has been presented at some point, Iowa's adopted the collaborative for academic and social emotional learning, the CASEL competencies. And those competencies are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And these, as you can think through these words and these competencies, they also blend directly into our violence prevention work that we're doing as well. Challenge to Change is an organization that we partnered with to help us to facilitate that foundational learning in our classrooms. And so I'm going to stop talking there, and I'll be able to answer more questions if there are any in the discussion section. But I'm going to turn it over to Cami Montoya, the principal of Jefferson. And I also want to point out Jordan Turner, who's coming up as well, who is currently a staff member at Jefferson and will be a Challenge to Change facilitator next year. And Jordan is so into this program. She had her first child less than 2 weeks ago and still insisted on being a part of planning this presentation. So that is the passion of the people coming up here. So I'm going to turn it over to Cami.
Way shorter than Dr. Klipsch. Thank you, Dr. Klipsch. We appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about this. When they first asked us to come, we said, we only have 10 minutes. We could go on about this all day long. So it truly has been a life-changing thing that we've adopted at Jefferson. And I'm just the administrator that said, sure, this sounds intriguing. And we did it. And we're in about year 2.5 of it. And it's been phenomenal. First responder calls have gone down. The amount of anger, we do surveys quite often to see, how it is affecting kids, and it's just been amazing. So I'll turn it over to Mrs. Jordan Turner. She will be actually taking a position next year for the Challenge for Change, and she will oversee a lot of these efforts in our district.
All right, thank you for having me, and thanks, Dr. Klipsch, for the introduction. So I'm Jordan Turner, and I work at Jefferson. I've been there for 6 years, and I'm so passionate about this that I'm actually stepping down as a teacher, and I'm going to be full-time at Challenge to Change, and they also have a nonprofit that I'm going to work for as well, and I'll be the educational director. So I am going to transfer it over to the kids here in 1 second. I just want you to know that we are in right now 4 live buildings in Davenport currently this year, and we're also in 2, we call it a Compass program, and that's where it's all online, and I'll answer questions on what that looks like after these kids because they're itching at the bit to get up here to talk. But next year, if funding goes through, we would be in 15 schools live for Davenport, which is absolutely incredible. You know, teaching these kids these skills like they'll talk about is just a nice way to help them self-regulate. So I will turn it over to Xavier Hubbard. We like to call him Zay, and he is a 5th grader at Jefferson.
Yoga helps me calm down and focus at school. Champion is my favorite yoga song as it really helps me calm down. My favorite yoga pose is Peaceful Warrior because I love peace. Yoga is important so students can learn to relax and handle getting upset.
Maybe take a second to tell them, how often did you do yoga every day at school? How do you do yoga? How was it in your schedule?
When did we do yoga? So Xavier had an IEP, and we did yoga how many times a week?
2 days a week.
2 days a week. So he has it written in his IEP to do it. Anything else you'd like to add? You good?
I'm good. Very good.
Okay.
It's cute.
Good job.
Tell them your name and just tell them your name.
My name is Willow, and yoga helps us keep us calm when we are frustrated. When I am working on math, my brain starts to hurt, and yoga calms me down. My favorite yoga song is Champion because when I am frustrated, Champion makes me feel like a champion. My favorite poses are Downward Dog and Goddess because they just feel right for me. My favorite mudras are Eagle because they make me feel strong, and Lotus Flower because I feel like a seed blossoming into a beautiful flower.
That was so good.
Sweet.
Yoga helps me when I am mad. It helps me calm down when I am frustrated. Yoga helps me do my work. My favorite yoga song is Champion because it makes me feel like a champion. My favorite yoga pose is Tree because it's fun and I like to stand on one leg. My favorite mudra is Lotus Flower because when I close my eyes, I feel like a blooming flower and happy. Yoga has changed my life by calming me when I am mad.
So we gave them scripts. They did come up with these, but they knew they'd be nervous. So you don't even have to read from the script. Just tell them exactly how you feel. But truly, I mean, these are just 3 examples, 2 way more so than the others of extreme behaviors, getting very frustrated, having to leave the classroom often to almost never. I mean, truly has been life-changing for them. It's probably hard for them to explain. But so we just also wanted to show you just a quick PowerPoint here of just some of the photos. It's just a minute or 2 that we have, so you can see it happening in whole groups also.
Do you ever feel small in a world so big? 'Cause I feel small in a world so big. Wondering, how do I fit in? I tell my wiggling body, my thinking mind, my racing breath that I'll be fine. 'Cause I am yoga, still and calm. I am yoga, standing tall. I am yoga, breathe out, breathe in. When the world spins, my heart opens again. I can touch the sky, light up the night, up among the clouds. I can shimmer, shine, go with the flow of the love I hold inside. I tell my wiggling body again. I can stand up for me. I can stand up for you.
So that's pretty much all we have for the presentation, but if you have any questions for us or them, I'm sure they would love to come back up.
Director Snyder.
Well, you guys did a great job. I got the first two speakers' names. I didn't get the third. Christiana. All right. Well, Xavier, Willow, and Christiana, you guys did a great job. So I don't think I could do some of those yoga poses, but I think I could do the one where I'm lying down with something over my face like sleeping. I might be able to do that one. Anything else, you guys would probably have to call 911 or help me up off the ground. But you guys all talked about what your favorite song is, and you all said Champion. And I was wondering if you could show us each what your favorite yoga pose is. Could you show us what it looks like?
You guys can all do them together.
Yeah.
There you go. Go ahead, Alea. You can do it too. What do we got? Warrior 3. Good. Tree pose. Good, Christiana. What do you got, Willow? Willow, did you say you like goddess pose? Yeah. Xavier, what do you got? Good. Good job. Good job. That's a good one. Good job, guys.
All right. Thank you. And one last thing. Xavier, when Willow was going to sit down after she did a great job speaking, you reached out and gave her a high five. I wanted to say that is super cool. That is awesome teamwork, and I'm very proud of you for that. I like to see that.
Director Klein Jerome.
Is this done in every classroom in your building? Yes. Oh, that's very cool. And will it be done next year if it's approved in those schools in every, or is it by grade level, certain ones, or?
Yes. So it'll be in every grade level, and
Okay.
it's a 30-minute lesson. So if they do the live programming, which is what the 14 different elementary schools will do, a certified kids yoga instructor like myself, they're certified. They went through a training for Challenge to Change. They come in and they teach a 30-minute yoga lesson, and then the whole entire staff gets access to an online portal where they can pull up videos, they can pull up resources, activities, and they can use that all throughout the school year. So that's
very cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Director Beck.
Thank you to the students for coming down and sharing with us. We really appreciate it. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to just step up here and do anything else. So for the teachers, I have a question. So I know that there is some mindfulness programming in nearly all of our schools. And I have a son who's 11, and he refuses to buy in. So he even, no matter how much we tell him, or the counselor, whoever's teaching it, tells him that this really will help you with all of your coping skills and things that you need. How do you all accomplish the buy-in, particularly for those older kids who maybe say, yeah.
I think one of the main things, since they're certified yoga instructors, we teach them how to write an actual lesson. So I think it can be a little bit more engaging that way, to where it's there's 5 different parts. There's a sitting practice, there's a movement practice, there's an activity, the yoga nap, which all kids love, so that's at the end. So I think just having all that up-downness, it kind of doesn't really seem like we're just doing the yoga part, the movement part, which I know sometimes kids are like, and we do change up the songs too.
Okay.
And we kind of find out what they like. And at the end, we always have that positive reinforcement. So sometimes we'll have a singing bowl that they all get to do at the end if they all participate. And then we never force a kid to participate either, if they want to sit in the back. But you'll start to see that one kid who doesn't want to participate at the end, they'll be the one that's answering the questions once we have them at the end. So it's really incredible to see. But I think the structure of the lesson sometimes can grab their attention.
Awesome. I love the program. It's great. And I know it's super helpful and super important, as these students have shown us.
Yes.
One other quick question. The the nap,
Yeah.
were those weighted bags that they had on their ankles and wrists?
Yeah, so we call them eye pillows. And inside, because the top part can come off, so you can wash the top part. And then inside are like pellets, and they can be lavender scent, which most of them are. But then we have a set that isn't, and yep, that will get kids drawing right in.
Oh my
They want
goodness,
that.
I want to sign up for that.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'm in.
Yeah, and you can see sometimes with our wiggliest kids, we have them, so we put them sometimes on their wrists and their ankles as well. Just kind of anchors them down. So yeah,
Awesome.
It's pretty neat.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Director Potts.
You said they have 2 lessons a week, or is that what is the frequency?
Yeah, so the live lesson, so it'll be one 30-minute lesson a month. I might have said week. Like I said, I still have that pregnancy brain a little bit. But yeah, so it's one time a month. That's just when the yoga instructor will come in. But that online source was where teachers can pull up any part of the lesson. So there's recorded lessons that they can pull up. Even if a teacher wants to do the 30-minute lesson again, they have access to that. So we're just hoping that teachers get the buy-in too. We do a professional development at the beginning of the year for the whole staff, and we kind of put them through the lesson so they know what to expect. And then they can pull it up 5 minutes, a brain break. Like the kids keep talking about mudras. Mudras is like yoga for your hands. So we teach them like turtle in a shell mudra, and then they hold that for a few breaths, and that's something very easy that a teacher can pull up. But it's nice that there's video, so teachers don't have to feel the pressure to teach the lesson, right? They can just pull up the video and do it themselves.
So the individual from this organization does 30 minutes a month,
Once a month. Yep.
once a month with whom?
With the so if there, let's just say there's 3 sections of kindergarten first, we have 3 yoga instructors come in. So then they go into kindergarten for 30 minutes, then they go to first grade for 30 minutes, and they would work their way up.
Okay.
The whole school.
Okay.
Does that answer? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm just.
Yeah.
Well, when you first said 30 minutes, weekly, I'm thinking, I know how precious time is. So my first thought was, so what aren't you doing so you can do this? But if most of this is in the classroom for brief, respites or refocusing, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and we try at Challenge Change to make each lesson all according to the SEL competencies. So we do it sometimes during that connections time where they would already be doing something in regards to that.
What would you say is the percent of staff buy-in?
Jeez, I mean, it's high. I mean, 90 plus. I mean, it's maybe we have a half of a teacher that's not all the way bought in. It's the way they do the PD at the very beginning of the year. There, you have all the staff on their yoga mats. They're doing it. They kind of feel like, wow, I really do feel relaxed. This is really neat. So they're just almost bought in at the beginning. We did have a few that weren't, but by lesson 1, they were when they saw it happen with the kids. And then, as I was just going to say, it starts with 30 minutes once a month, whole school. But the very next day, you walk into classrooms and teachers are repeating it. I mean, it is. They see how powerful it is for kids. Some, that's what they do every day for morning meeting. We have 3 classrooms that we would say is more on a tier 3 level that do it probably 2 to 3 times a day, almost at every reset, at least for a couple of minutes, just to get them calmed back down. So yeah, I would say buy-in is huge.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? First, I would like to say thank you to the kiddos for coming and your parents for coming and supporting you. That's always awesome to get the family buy-in. To the staff that came, that's awesome of you as well to support your kiddos. I mean, I always appreciate when the staff comes and supports their kids when they're here doing presentations. I look to see YouTube videos of you all later on doing your yoga poses and stuff. I think that'd be kind of cool. My last ask of you all, Director Snyder and I used to travel around to the schools and do some cool stuff with art classes and stuff like that, so we might have to come and check out a yoga class. You might have to show us how to do it if you're interested. And if you have something like that going, if you could schedule that with our board secretary, Miss T over there, we would love to come and check that out. You might have to have 911 on standby, but we'll try it out and see what we can do. We might even be able to drag the superintendent out to do it too.
I think so.
You need.
Oh yeah, very flexible.
We're gonna need 2 stretchers for that guy. But thank you again. Great presentation. Thanks to the kiddos. It took a lot of guts to stand up there and talk to us. I know that's hard, and you all did a great job. Thank you again, and have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
I want video if there's yoga from you.
We'll collect plenty of evidence.
I would totally go.
If that's the case, you're coming too. All right, next item on the agenda, student board reports. So there's none of those. We'll move on to board reports. Are there any board reports?
I have one.
I mean, we just had graduation. You guys ain't got nothing to report on?
That's what I want to say. That was like the highlight of being on the board is the 5 graduations that we attended. It's an awesome accomplishment for the students, but it was a great experience as a board member to be there and be able to shake their hands and congratulate them, all 5 of them.
Director Beck.
I'd like to know who won the Graduation Outstanding Spirit Award.
We'll vote on that at the next regular meeting.
All right.
Any other board reports? Director Poston.
As a first timer like Karen, I thoroughly enjoyed the graduation. I know it was a long day, but it's just nice to see those kids walk across the stage and see, you know, what they've accomplished. And then I have one other thing. Under board reports, you all should have received the report that I made as far as the visits I made to the schools. And again, it's nothing earth-shattering, but you know, when you have a chance, go through that. It's just a kind of a composite of, you know, what I observed as far as in the buildings, and then what the teachers and principals expressed to me. And so I think it's been good from the standpoint. I've learned a lot, and I will, you know, I'm planning on doing it again starting next fall. I probably won't do it in such a compressed amount of time, but thanks to COVID, that kind of limited the time that was available. One thing I want the principals to be aware of that recognized that what you expressed to me, that's still the case, that is not going to go out to the principals. Is that correct? Okay. And so, but I want you to be aware of that. You know, I recorded as much as, or wrote down as much as I possibly could. And again, when we make return visits, there's some of those things can be addressed again, but I really appreciate the time that the principals took to spend with me. And again, if there's any activities coming up in your building, you know, be sure to let the board know, and so that we can participate in some of those activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Poston. Any other board reports? Director Hayes.
All 5 of the graduations were great, as everybody had spoke on before, but I was extremely impressed and moved by the Project Search one, and hearing the jobs that the little ones got. And I would still like to hear what those last 2 end up doing if their jobs were approved. But that was very rewarding to see them and experience their excitement about their placements.
Any other board reports? Again, I'll echo what everyone else has said. The high school graduations are probably the highlights. When we were talking about 5 graduations, we're talking about North, West, Central, Mid-City, and the Project Search graduation. That's a partnership with St. Ambrose. I just didn't want anyone thinking we grew a 5th high school or something. And then just a little bit ago before this, we were at a meeting, and I'm trying to remember what the name of that was. The Violence Prevention Task Force with the City of Davenport, with a ton of other people that were engaged with that. The first meeting to get started with that. And as we get going, I'll report back on that. I don't really have. Director Snyder.
One last thing I think is way too important not to to mention in regards to the graduations. This year at the North graduation, we also had 40 plus kids
44.
that walked across that stage that also simultaneously received an associate's degree through our partnership with Scott Community College, and one young man 2 associate degrees. That is the first time in that program's history that somebody has received 2 degrees. So that's what Davenport Schools has to offer. I know as a parent who paid for my child's college, if she could have gotten a 2-year degree at no expense, that is a huge opportunity.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Seeing no other board reports, we'll move on to communications. Open forum. No open forum request in person nor online, but I'm gonna read the spiel that we always read. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak should fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The open forum request form is available in a hard copy for in-person attendees or online for those who want to participate in open forum virtually. The link is located on the school board page of the district's website. For those who want to participate virtually, the request must be emailed to Brenda T at tbren@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. The Iowa Open Meetings Law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president will set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak during open forum. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community during open forum. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. Anyone not in attendance but wishing to speak at open forum, call 563-445-5001 and enter the conference ID. Being that there is no open forum request, I'll move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President.
Director Poston?
Mr. President, I'd like to have item 6.02 pulled from the consent agenda for discussion.
Okay.
Don't you have to make the motion first and then vote? I think you do.
Yeah. You want to make the motion and then we'll get second and then you pull it?
Okay.
So you make the motion for the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Director Poston?
I'd like to pull item number 6.02 for discussion.
Okay.
Second.
We don't need a second on the consent agenda, but thank you. So we have a motion and a second for item 6.01. I'll call for, is there any discussion on that item? And then I'll call for the vote and then we'll do discussion on 6.02. Director Poston,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Beck,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Potts,
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes, motion carries. May I have a motion on item 6.02?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve item 6.02.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. Is there any discussion? Director Poston?
Well, I just wanted some clarification when we talk about this program director of school climate transformation, and that person is going to fall under director of learning and results. Is that correct?
No. This is the program director that falls under the equity and learning.
Okay. All right. So I guess as a board member, I'm wondering why this person is needed. I mean, what is the job description? Why do we need another director? I'm concerned again that under all this reorganization, are we really saving any money? Are we really making any changes? And that would be my concern.
We are absolutely making changes, and we are absolutely saving money. Throughout the reorganization, we're saving $220,000 every year for over 5 years at about $1.1 million. So to your question, are we saving money? Yes, we're saving money through the reorganization. The second part, when we went through and did our reorganization, this was a position that we established as a baseline. Example would be something similar to this is that we established that we need an elementary principal. So when an elementary principal leaves, we would hire another elementary principal. This position is Jake Klipsch's position. So the position that oversees the implementation of PBIS, crisis response, violence prevention, school counselors, those things, that's this position. So this is not the addition of a new position. This is the replacement of that position. What I think is confusing is Jake was, during this transition, Dr. Klipsch we have absorbed 2 roles. He was the interim director of federal programs and learning supports. That's the position that he vacated. We always knew that in all of our structures and all of our presentations that this position would remain, because this person, again, like I said, oversees all of the programs that I just stated. Also works with state and federal programs, Title I, Title II, modified allowable growth, things of that nature. So this is not a new position. This is a position that has been reported and discussed in the presentations that we have in terms of a program director's position. So this is not a new position. This is filling of a vacated position.
So this is not something that the Director of Equity and Learning Supports could handle?
No, I do not believe that is possible. So the Director of Equity and Learning would oversee both special education and federal programs. So we need point people in our organization to take the lead on all of those things. And I want you to reflect back on things that we've gone through in this current school year with crisis response, violence prevention. And as we move forward, we're going to be implementing PBIS. We're going to be moving forward with our counselors, our social workers, implementing these things, and also overseeing our Title I programming. And so this is not a brand new position. This was not created. This was backfilling a position that was vacated. So, and yes, I believe it's necessary.
Then when you look through some of the administrative changes, there's been some changes with secretaries and administrative assistants, and there's 1 or 2 places where we're not backfilling a position. So, I mean, if we're not backfilling positions there, why are we backfilling positions at the director level?
That's an excellent question, and I would like to remind you that we're not backfilling the director position. So when we combined we combined federal programs, my old position, and special education. So we did not backfill the director level position. We are backfilling that next layer down. So to your point, that's one of the positions that's being eliminated. And so when you reflect back, Dawn Anderson Rasher, Mary Ann Corbin, federal programs, none of those 3 administrative positions were backfilled. And so when you look at the current structure that we have, those are the positions that were combined and not backfilled. So these positions now are carrying all of that weight. They're carrying all of that load. So the absolute redistribution of those responsibilities is happening. Absolutely.
Well, again, my concern is that we're not putting the money close to the students, to the kids. So, for an example, we're losing a CTE instructor of 19 years at West, going to another district for more money. So to me, losing that person has more of an effect directly on our students than some of these positions in administration. So I just want to be clear that, again, anytime a position has a direct effect or directly involved with the student, I think that's where the dollar should go.
Director Beck.
I guess I just want a clarification because I'm having trouble visualizing the layers. So, the title programs, your old position is what was your position and part of Dr. Klipsch's interim position, correct? That is now the responsibility of the Director of Equity and Learning Supports. Is that correct?
Correct. The redistribution of those responsibilities will go back between both of those positions. So the equity and learning director and the school climate transformation. Everybody's got to pick up more.
Confused.
Everybody's got to pick up more.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So administering title programs is a job of two different people, and that's why the school climate transformation person is under the Director of Equity and Learning Supports. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's where I got confused because you said the same thing for two people. So, okay, that makes sense. And I do understand that we're saving money. If we, with regard to the CTE teacher that Director Poston referred to, wouldn't we be replacing that CTE teacher?
Yes, we absolutely are. And we're not utilizing that. We didn't eliminate that CTE teacher. We'll immediately repost the CTE position, and we will be as aggressive as we possibly can to recruit and maintain our teachers that we have. We did not eliminate the CTE person to hire that person, because that's kind of what it sounds like. That is absolutely not happening. So,
and then that is not what I said. He was not eliminated. He's leaving for more money at a different school district after 19 years in the district, and I think you're going to have a tough time replacing him.
we did an exit interview with that person, made personal phone calls, and I do not believe it was surrounding the dollar amount they make. We would absolutely reach out and match that salary. If it's about salary, and we all know who we're talking about, we'll match it right now. 100%. No doubt about it.
Director Klein-Jerome.
And I'm glad to hear we're doing exit interviews, because it does trouble me to see anybody between 10 and 20 years leaving our district in the teaching field. And I know it's their choice. We're not eliminating, we're not laying anybody off. But that's a big concern when I read through the list. Why are they leaving? So I'm glad to hear we are having conversations with them. And, maybe first and second year I could understand, but when you get 10, 20 years invested in this district, what is it that's pushing you to go somewhere else?
Jamie Weinsroll's doing a database of collection of all of that stuff for our future analysis.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Director Beck.
Before the people in the back of the room have a heart attack, I'm going to put a little asterisk next to Superintendent Schneckloth's pledge to match salary at any level.
Not at teaching level.
Pardon?
I said not at teaching level. They get a contract.
We've got to, we're not made of money. So I'm just going to put an asterisk there.
No, here's what.
Maybe you have some industrial arts boosters out there.
Yeah. No, here's what I mean by that. And thank you I'm very passionate about this area and this arena. We are going to get together with our HR department immediately and begin, because we have to start recruiting people from the field. We have to start recruiting people. There are absolute models from all over the state and the district that allow your district to be competitive, but still work with your union to figure it out. And so that's what I mean by that. So we will if that's what it's about, we'll figure out a way. And I know our union is that way to break down barriers, figure out hard to fill positions. So that's absolutely what I meant. Thank you for clarifying that, Dr. Beck.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that, because that would have been front page, top of the fold, tomorrow morning's paper, because we know how they love to report on that stuff.
It's not a blank check.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Poston.
No.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on approval of bills?
Mr. President.
Director Potts.
I move the board approve the following recommendation by the administration for the adoption of the bills from the bill listing period 5/19/21 to 6/8/21. Resolved. All claims presented to the board having been duly certified as correct by the treasurer, reviewed by the administration and board members, and they are hereby audited and allowed as just claims and warrants drawn on the treasury for several amounts. Further resolved, the payment of claims and salaries be approved as presented for the periods 5/19/21 to 6/8/21. That includes void check 14368 West Music for $1,188.51 made out to the wrong vendor.
Thank you, Director Potts. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Snyder. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Snyder?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Superintendent report?
Not this time.
Committee reports. Director Snyder, I believe you had an LZAC committee report.
Yes. You guys will see, we'll send it out. I was hoping to get it on tonight for discussion, but I got it in too late. And then we'll vote on it next week. But you'll see either Brenda will send it out or TJ will include it in his Friday information session. Basically what it is, it's step one with our LZAC committee. We created a charge, or basically what is our mission with that committee, and how we see that committee interacting and communicating with the board. Because as I said last time, we definitely want to keep the lines of communication open. For far too long when I was on the board before, we knew there was an LCAC committee, but we never heard anything about what was going on. And that is not the LZAC committee working for the board. So you'll see this charge, and then we're going to vote on it at the next meeting, as long as it gets on the agenda. Just saying, yes, we agree that that's a good way for the LZAC committee to work with the board. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And then if you guys have any questions on it, by all means, reach out to either Director Beck or myself.
Any other committee reports? Got anything for policy?
We have several things for discussion tonight. Otherwise, we're just continuing our work. And we meet tomorrow.
Perfect. Finance committee?
We're just waiting to hear if we're going to have a committee meeting or not on Wednesday.
Any other committee reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 10.01, the IJAG contract?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board approve the two memorandums of understanding with Iowa Jobs for America's Graduates, IJAG, in the amount of $135,000 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Beck. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Snyder?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.02, the AeroCorps contract for Aruba maintenance renewal?
Mr. President,
Director Snyder?
I move that the board accept the administration's recommendation and approve the contract with Air Corps for Aruba maintenance renewal 2021 in the amount of $62,627.63 as presented.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Snyder?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 10.03, food and nutrition, commercial sandwich, bread, and buns?
Mr. President,
Director Beck?
I move that the board approve the proposal from Alpha Baking Company in the amount of $64,405.50 for sandwich bread and buns.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Is there any discussion? The only thing I'll point out is we've already had discussion on these things, so if it seems to anybody we're just voting on them, we've already discussed it at the last meeting, and that's why we already got all our information to be able to vote on this. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Director Beck?
Yes.
Director Potts?
Yes.
Director Snyder?
Yes.
Director Hayes?
Yes.
Director Poston?
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.04, food and nutrition commercial pizza?
Mr. President.
Director Potts.
Mr. President, I move that the board approve the recommendation of the administration for the proposal for Papa John's Pizza in the amount of $116,300 for commercial pizzas.
Thank you, Director Potts. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Beck. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. May I have a motion on item 10.05, food and nutrition, milk?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the administration recommendation for the proposal from Prairie Farms in the amount of $602,084.44 for milk, plain and flavored.
Second.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Poston. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Snyder.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Motion carries. Discussion items. Item 11.01, the resolution for instructional support levy. I'll turn it over to you, Mr.
Sure.
Superintendent.
Thank you. This is the first step in moving forward with our instructional support levy. This is absolutely vital to the operation of the Davenport Community School District. And so to kind of give us a little bit of an overview, I've asked Kevin to kind of talk about this and what the process is for us. It's absolutely vital as we move forward. And you can see some of the items that we utilize this for. But Kevin, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview of the instructional support levy and what we have to do to accomplish that in the upcoming months.
Sure. Our instructional support levy runs a little over $7 million a year. What this levy allows us to do is to put dollars as close to the classroom as possible. It technically is any general fund purpose, but districts tend to use it for purchasing of items such as curriculum, purchasing of supplies, funding building budgets that principals may use for purchases. It can be staffing, but generally it's for stuff, not staff. It puts kind of the meat of the materials that we need to use to educate kids. What this takes is, this is just the introduction, so next meeting we'll ask to set a date for a hearing. It's a 5-year levy. After we set the date, we'll publish it just like anything else. We'll have the hearing date, and then a period of time has to go by, I believe it's 30 days, for any public to say, I'd like to take it to a vote. But it will establish for 5 years, not for FY22, but for FY23 through 27. So we're doing this a year in advance so we don't lose an opportunity to have a gap in our instructional support levy.
Are there any questions? Director Hayes.
Just for clarification, Kevin, you said to purchase items, not for staff, correct?
It technically can be any general fund purpose, but districts use it to fill gaps for materials.
Thank you.
Director Beck.
I'm sorry. So this is not something that people vote on automatically, is that?
Correct.
And so if there's not a vote, it automatically renews, is that correct? So this is our announcement of intending to use what we already collect for this purpose, is that?
I wouldn't say automatic renews.
Oh.
It takes the board action to renew it for 5 years.
Okay.
So it's not an automatic renewal. The one thing I will mention, though, our tax levy, this is part of our tax levy right now.
Okay.
So it doesn't change anything tax-wise. It continues the current levy.
So basically, what we're doing here is stating our intent to use this portion of what we already collect to continue to use it for the purposes that we're using it for, which is instructional support. Is
Yes,
that correct?
correct.
And so we're not changing tax rates in any way, shape, or form. This is just our intent to continue to use that chunk for instructional materials and support.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Director Pasha.
Kevin, explain what's entailed in a building budget. How's that determined and
Well, we're going to be reviewing that for the next year because of what happened in the past year where we reduced budgets to balance our budget. So we'll work on a plan to give a per pupil allocation to buildings so they can buy things like their desks, their chairs, their support documents, workbooks, those kind of things. If you think about things that are within reach of students, that's generally what a building budget is designed for.
so am I correct then, if I remember when I made the visits to principals, a lot of those building budgets were pulled back and there was nothing there for them, is that correct?
Correct. And we're going to be reworking that to try and get a correct amount in their hands. Some of the building budgets were saved over time, but we really want them to spend it on the kids this year and next year and the next year, not to hold back funds. It's meant to be a revolving fund so they can spend those funds on the students.
Director Kleindrum.
Okay, I understand the position to not save it, but if they saved it over, say, 2 or 3 years to build a new playground or fund some big project, when we pulled it all back, did we pull all 2 and 3 years? So they are left with nothing, even though they saved it from 2 or 3 years ago.
They would either be left, no, they would not have those funds, but we would try and use more appropriate funds for things like playgrounds using our PEPA levy or our SAVE dollars. That's a more appropriate use of funds for that type of purchase. The intent of the building budget with the instructional support dollars is to put materials, library books, those kind of things in students' hands.
And I know what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you did, but I also know that there are some times when saving it, and then not we, but somebody wiped it out. That shouldn't be. I mean, here they were frugal and saved for something they felt was needed, and to cut just because of this year, but we just wiped out their whole account. I also know there are buildings who they don't even have a library budget, so they can't buy new books. Well, it's really important to have books in kids' hands, and we're not giving them that opportunity either. So, yeah, I think the building budget is a big one, so I'm glad you're
I do
going to
too.
be looking at it. And also, I would not want to see us robbing their funds if they are saving them.
For what happened the last year, you have to remember the instructional support levy is a part of the entire general fund. And when your general fund is in trouble and you're trying to recover from that, it's one way to recover from having a deficit situation. So now that we're starting to come out of that, we'll be able to have more of a laser focus on exactly how we want those building budgets to be spent.
Director Snyder.
Just to reiterate, this is not a new levy. This is not new money we're asking for. This is not a new budget. This is not anything other than how we pull these funds that have been in place for 4 years, expires the end of 2022, and will be up for renewal for the 23 to 27 school year, correct?
You are correct.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item of discussion, 11.02, challenge to change yoga mindfulness contract.
I think everybody saw our presentation earlier today, so if you have any questions, we'll gladly answer those questions right now.
Director Beck.
So just to confirm, right now this program is in what was it, 4 schools, and we're expanding it to others. Is that?
Yes, it was already in place. I believe I should be at the back of that contract, but I believe it was like 5 or 6 schools, but then expansion, yes, into what will be 14 schools based on needs assessment by the buildings. Nothing that is being forced upon them, but meeting the needs of their building and their building plans.
Okay, and it's just elementary, is that correct?
It is elementary. However, I've been working with our PE curriculum specialist, and they are looking at rolling those same practices into the health lifetime fitness courses. So it's not a thing that's going to be, required at the intermediate level, but we're dipping our toes into that water so that we're actually able to touch at a couple of our schools. All students, as they go through their elective wheel, will be exposed to some of these practices.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. It's there's a lot of research that shows the benefits of yoga and other mindfulness practices. So
absolutely. And I want to say that was obviously a heartwarming presentation by the kids, and it was and it was cute, even if you want to call it that. But these are strategic interventions based on the data at the building. So as Ms. Montoya, the principal, mentioned, after recess, data spikes for behaviors. Well, that's when we're going to do a school-wide intervention incorporating a 5-minute video so that we can reduce some of those impacts rather than wait for the back end for things to flare up and then we do a traditional disciplinary practice. Let's be proactive and help kids to learn the skills to calm down and be more aware of their emotions so that we don't get into that issue in the first place.
Director Potts.
Is there a fee or a cost for this? I don't see anything in the contract.
Yeah, I think at the very end there should be the cost. It is $60,000. It's in our Title II plan. Our Title II plan is not a general fund. If it's not on there, then it should have been.
It's there. It's on there.
Okay. It is in our, we did our Title II needs assessment, and it is rolled into that as our part of our title programming. So there's that piece at the end there.
I didn't scroll down far enough. It's title money?
It is title money, sustainable from year to year.
Title II,
Title II.
which can go anywhere, not just Title I.
Any other discussion? Any other information you would like to feel comfortable on voting on this at a future meeting? Seeing, oh, Director Beck.
Just to confirm for people who may be listening, we're not taking away instructional time to do these either. And in fact, we're probably gaining instructional time. I know as an educator, just taking a 10-second break to make my students stand up and stretch allows them to refocus. And so I don't lose them for the second half of the 2-hour class. So we're essentially trying to capture some of that and head off discipline problems before they happen, correct?
100%. It's rolled into some of the connections times that we have at a lot of our buildings. And if you think about it like the popular analogy of sharpening the axe, a lot of times as teachers, we're trying to chop down a tree with the dull axe. And this practice of mindfulness is like sharpening the axe so that you can be much more efficient, get kids calmed down, and then do more instruction as a result of that.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. 11.03 ST Math.
This is a program that we currently have in our K-6 buildings. It provides resources for our students. It's a program that is adaptive. So while our students are working with the teacher, they can be on their own individual plan. It's strategically based in science for how the brain operates with math. If you actually, one of the things with ST Math, if you look at it, the way they log in, their password is actually a number or figures and stuff like that. Dr. Beck probably has seen it plenty of times. So this is a program that we're looking for to continue with in our district, particularly in that Tier 2 area for math. And so it gives our teachers and our students an additional tool to help accomplish their goals in math. And so right now we'd entertain any questions on this product.
Director Klein-Jerome.
This isn't in every building, is that correct? I only saw certain buildings,
Six.
I
It
thought.
looks like it's in 6 buildings.
It's in every building. Bill, do you want to talk about that?
It's the Tier 2 intervention they're currently using with the curriculum in all elementary schools. And they use it in the summer months too. They can stay logged on and keep working throughout the year.
When I was early on in math, we used accelerated math. And everybody was at different levels. Is this similar to that? So
Then the teacher gets a printout where she should intervene and help kids.
right,
and-
right.
Yep.
Okay, so some kids could be
Yes,
way
yes.
here and some are here. And
What you call it, TJ, self-pacing, or you used to
and
word?
how does it fit into our math curriculum? So I could be way off of the topic we're not even covering over here. Is that correct?
Yeah, when I was talking to Corey about this earlier, she reminded me that we don't really have a Tier 2 plan in the current math curriculum. So this is what we're using until they adopt a new math curriculum for Tier 2 intervention. So yes, kids are paced at their own rate, and it's
even-
standards-based.
Even kids who wouldn't have to be on a Tier 2 plan?
Yes, everybody.
still
They
could
can move on.
accelerate and
Yes,
move right on
yep.
up. Okay.
Director Beck.
So I know that it's used, this program's used fairly heavily in some classrooms, depending on how much intervention time. And what I appreciate about it is that if a student doesn't need intervention from the teacher at that moment because they're meeting benchmarks through ST Math, they can be working ahead. I did have a question about when we decided to adopt ST Math instead of the accelerated math and why this program was chosen, because I'll be honest, it's not without some headaches. And so I'm just wondering what the advantages are of this one over our previous one, I don't even know when this was adopted.
Yeah, this is about, I believe it's 5 years now, and it was a partnership with John Deere when it originally started, and they really pushed to get this kind of visual conceptual learning going with kids and the research that was out there. So they started it up at a lot of the local schools. They paid for some of it at the beginning, and then we gradually started to fund it ourselves.
And so we have data to support the fact that ST Math is actually doing what it needs to be doing. I know ST, I believe, stands for spatiotemporal. So it's not just plugging in numbers. It's actually math literacy from what I remember of what I've seen of it.
It is one of the state-supported curriculums.
Okay.
I just want to say, from actually having kids in the district, my kids loved ST Math. My second grader loves it. She'll do it all day long. Matter of fact, she likes doing extra just to do it, versus my high schooler and my intermediate. They're like, nah, I could care less about that. But it just makes it interactive for them. I mean, that's just my own personal self from our household, but I've had 3 kids that have done it, and one more eventually when the other one graduates. The next one will be starting. So any other discussion? Director Beck.
Just to follow up on Director Gosa's comment, I have one who's been doing ST Math since its inception. And once we got it figured out in terms of making it work on our home machine, and now that we can bring Chromebooks home, it's 1,000 times easier to do. But it is a good program, and he can work at his own pace, and that's what's really important, and on his own time. And it also incentivizes learning, because we could tell him to get to the next level.
Any other discussion? When will this one be coming to the board?
The 28th.
28th. Does anyone need any other information for the 28th? All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 11.04, policies for board's first discussion. I will turn it over to Director Beck.
Okay, so as we've established, we are bringing you all policies for the first discussion and then a second discussion. So the first discussion is the set of policies you see before us. I think I've mentioned this before, but in case you're wondering why you haven't seen some of the other policies in the 500 series, like the discipline policy and other things like that, is because those are really integrated with our crisis response and violence prevention programming. And so we have to coordinate with the state and our partners to make sure that we are implementing policies that match what we're actually doing. And so that's kind of taking a little bit longer. So we're working on those, but that's why you haven't seen those, even though they may fall into this 500 series category. So for our first discussion today, we have policy 503.04, the good conduct rule. And this is a policy that reminds students and families that extracurricular activities are a privilege, and that that students are encouraged to participate in extracurricular activities, but that students are ambassadors of the school district while they're doing that, and that they should conduct themselves in accordance with board policy. We made a couple of language changes to bring it up to date, but otherwise left it the same. And this is a mandatory policy, so it's one that we find at all districts across the state. Are there any questions? Yes, Director Klein-Jerome.
The choice of there as being illegal, inappropriate, or unhealthy. Unhealthy struck me. I get it. If you're taking drugs or alcohol, that's unhealthy, but so would me eating 3 bags of chips, 2 Mountain Dews, and a box of donuts. So the word unhealthy bothers me, because I think, what's unhealthy on that? That would be the only.
Mm-hmm. As you can see, we changed the other word immoral to inappropriate because we felt like that was a bit of a gray term as well. This is the IASB template language, so we can certainly come up with something that might be a little bit more appropriate, that would fit better with what the intent of that is. I think I know what you mean. You know, students shouldn't be jumping off of buildings and things like that when they're involved in extracurricular activities. I think maybe the intent there is a little bit more dangerous versus unhealthy. So we'll work on that at our next meeting. Anyone else?
I'm going to sound off.
Mr. Potts.
Just editorial comment. I think it's a sad time to be in when we have so balkanized our society and our values that using the word immoral isn't appropriate. I mean, there's just something, I don't know, it just rubs you my fur the wrong way, that we have become so divisive in how we approach things, that we have become so divided that we strike immorality from our code of conduct. I just find that sad. I just find it sad.
Noted. Anything else?
Did you say that ruffles your fur?
Okay, so the next one is policy 504.1, which is student government. This is just a statement that we can have, that we may have a student government in any school. The building principal is in charge of establishing some of the framework, and the curriculum department can have input, but the school community should also have input. So pretty standard statement that we will have student governments where students want student governments. Okay. The next one is 504.02. This is on student organizations. This is a policy that there are two options from the IASB. We chose to use their template for option 1 because we do have non-curricular school-based organizations. And so basically this just outlines different types of clubs and other things that students can be involved in during non-instructional time. I know at many of our schools, if you have a critical mass of students, they can go to a faculty member and ask to establish a club, an interest club. And the policy committee felt that that was important to make sure that we maintain that in policy. Are there questions on this one? Okay. All right. The next one is on 504.03 on student publications. Again, this is a pretty standard policy that students can produce official school publications as part of the curriculum under the supervision of a faculty advisor. Different types of school publications, what they are, and that students have the right to express and state their opinions in these publications. We also have outlined a way for people other than students or students themselves who feel they've been aggrieved by student expression in a student-produced official school publication to follow a grievance procedure. So it is basically an outline saying students have the right to free expression and to produce publications. All right. The next one is policy 504.05, and this one is on student fundraising. This is a recommended policy by the IASB because this is something that happens quite often. Basically, this is establishing the rule that students may fundraise for school-sponsored activities, but may not do so for non-school sponsored events. And that anything that they are collecting money for, that must have prior approval from the principal before they can do that on school property, and that administrative regulations will be written regarding the policy. And this reflects our current practice as well. Director Klein-Jerome?
And this isn't a smart aleck comment. This is, can we sell candy bars for fundraisers now? Because there's a while there where you couldn't do that. Do we have to spell that out in our policy? I'm not being a smart aleck about it. That truly happened for several years where you don't sell candy or pop or anything like that.
Oh, because it's junk food?
That's your choice of words. I wouldn't say it's junk food, but
I know. I don't necessarily think it is either,
do you
but
know?
that was the reasoning.
TJ?
We'll get an answer to that.
Yeah.
We'll get an answer to that.
Yeah, our policy doesn't prescript us students from selling candy bars, but we can.
But as a district, we
can
did that for a while. So I
Okay.
just wanted
That was an administrative decision.
Okay.
It wasn't a policy decision.
but it probably went along with administrative regulation.
Yes.
With this policy.
I think we had a wellness policy for a while, and you couldn't have pop, you know. You couldn't sell the stuff that made you real money.
Yeah. World
You had to sell stuff that they didn't want to buy.
Okay, so we will review the administrative regulation on items that can and cannot be sold in these fundraisers. All right, the next one is policy 504.06, student activity program. This is basically the idea that students who, it particularly applies to students playing sports, if they are playing sports at the high school, they can also play sports at a recreational level in a club team, and we allow that. That's not a problem. The onus is on the families to make sure that they work with the coaches to figure out how best to make that work. All right. The next one is 505.06. This is a mandatory policy. We do not, this is on early graduation. We do not have the ability to limit when a student can graduate. This is just a statement on when students can walk in the commencement exercises. And so we basically have them walk in the next commencement exercise after their early graduation, should they wish to do so. Okay. 506.03. Oh, wait. Yeah, we got two more. Okay, 506.03 is on student photographs. This is basically saying that students, that the board and the district will permit school photographers as a service to students and their families, that you get a notification, your family gets a notification prior, and you aren't required to do so. We also have a statement that students can be photographed upon consent for things like the yearbook or the student newspaper, and that the administrative rules will be developed in with the principal and the superintendent. Okay. All right, and then the last one for our first discussion is 506.04, the student library circulation records. This is a mandatory policy and a reflection of federal and Iowa law. Basically, student library circulation records are not released. They're confidential, and they're not released without parental consent, and that the person who is responsible for maintaining them is the teacher librarian. All right, so that is all the policies we have for our first discussion.
All right, next item is going to be 11.05 policies for board second discussion. Again, I'll turn it over to Director Beck.
All right, so these are policies we discussed at our last regular meeting, which we are bringing back to you for second discussion. So the first one is 501.02. This is on non-resident students. Basically, these are students who are not resident in our school district but wish to enroll in our school. This is not what we would consider open enrollment. This is students who enroll in, they will pay tuition. This is a policy that reflects current Iowa law. If you are in, it also states that if you are in grade 11 or 12 and your family moves out of the district, you are allowed to complete your high school career in the district without paying tuition. Okay. And you may also enroll in our district for classes if you are planning to move into the district before October 1st, but you can register when you're not a district resident yet, if you know that you are going to become a resident of our district. All right. Okay, the second one for discussion is our homeless children and youth policy 501.16. Again, this is a mandatory policy, follows the Department of Education, federal and Iowa Department of Education guidelines on what a student is who is considered homeless or migratory is, and their rights, therefore, their rights to an education. All right. Second discussion of 502.01 student appearance. Basically, again, stating that students need to wear clothing appropriate that does not contain, that does not disrupt the learning process, promote illegal products or acts, contain explicit, violent, or suggestive sexual content, and anything that's deemed obscene or profane. And what exactly those things are, we have administrative regulations that we develop along those lines. Okay. The next one is 502.02. This is care of school property or vandalism. Just a statement that students are expected to treat school property with care and respect, and that they may be required to reimburse the district for property destruction. All right, policy 502.06 on weapons. This is a mandatory policy stating that weapons are not allowed in school, but that we as a board may authorize specific individuals to bring weapons into schools, and that would be people like law enforcement officials or students involved, or activities like shooting sports and things like that, but we do not have any shooting sports in the district that I know of. Actually, we do. That's right, we do. So those are also exempt from these rules or this policy, and administrative regulations have those rules set up. Okay, 502.09, interviews of students by outside agencies. Again, this is students who are to be interviewed by people other than parents or school district officials. This is not something that we generally allow during the school day, but there are certain situations in which an investigator may need to interview a student away from the family, and so they would work with the principal, who would have the authority to deem whether that is appropriate or not. And then finally, we have 503.03, which is a mandatory policy on fines, fees, and charges. Basically, that students can be assessed fines, fees, or charges for the materials needed in a course, overdue school materials, participating activities, or misuse of school property. All right. And we will, oh, yes, Director Snyder.
I have one question, and I feel kind of odd asking this since I'm on the policy committee, but in regards to student appearance, we took out a part of it that says, free from tears or in good order. I don't remember, something along those lines, because to me that's exclusive and not everybody has that option to have brand new shiny clothes. But my question is, do principals at, say, our middle schools and high schools have like a administrative regulation or something that they follow so that we have consistency among our buildings as to what is appropriate and what is not? Because I've seen some things that, as a dad, I look at it and go, oh my gosh, what parent did not see that child leave wearing that today? So I'm just curious, out of consistency from building to building, if they have something they follow.
I think the number one rule that our administrators use, common sense, and that's, is it disrupting the learning environment? And so that's probably the number one administrative regulations that we utilize. Is it just what disruptions being caused to the learning environment? And then in some instances when it's sensitive, what they'll match whether a male or female will go and have that conversation with the student. The ultimate goal is to get back into, this is not disrupting the learning environment, it's appropriate. So those are how those conversations are conducted.
But we have a student dress code.
Yes, we do. Yes.
There is a printed student dress code.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, with a dress code or something like that, that would not be under policy, right? Because policy is supposed to be broad and general. And then the specifics, because it's going to be different for elementary versus middle versus high school, those are going to be in those administrative regulations. But I agree, as a general rule, we want to make sure it's consistent from building to building so that we're treating all of our students the same way.
Well, I like how TJ said that it's, I like the way he phrased it, because by no means do I want to take away a student's ability to individualize themselves. And I think that's important. So I am completely content with how TJ explained it.
All right, well, that is that group of second discussion policies we will be voting on at our next regular meeting. The first discussion ones will be our second discussion policies at our next regular meeting. And then we will have some new policies for you all. Well, not new, but another set of policies for you all to review for a first discussion at that meeting.
Thank you, Director Beck. We will now move on to board requests. I have 3. Does anyone have any other ones?
Second.
I'll start reading these while you get that one ready for me. First board request. Name of board member Director Poston. Date of request 6/14. I'm going to say you meant 21 and not 51. We're light years ahead. Item requested, information request. I would like an explanation of the Access program at EICC, funded by special ed dollars through the Davenport Community School District. Why are you requesting this information? I would like the board to learn about the program. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. When would you like this information? Anytime. Second board request, Director Poston. Date of request 6/14/2021. Item requested, an agenda item. I would like to have Nick Newman, ADVID elective teacher and coordinator, present to the board on the AVID program at Sudlow. Why are you making this request? I would like the board to learn about the AVID program. When would you like this? When you can work it into board agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Potts. Hot off the press is board request from Director Beck. Date of request 6/14/2021. An item requested, agenda item, description of request. I would like to discuss priorities for building budgets and other discretionary funds. Why are you requesting this information or agenda item? We should be using our money on our students at every possible point. Buildings should never be without adequate library, books, paper, etc. We should also make sure that students who want to participate in programs such as orchestra or clubs can do so. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein Jerome. It takes me a minute to write out her last name.
KJ.
I was going to say.
KJ. When would you like this agenda item? Whenever it is feasible. Board request by Director Gosa. Data request 6/14/2021, an agenda item. Description of request. I would like a presentation on staff salaries by group compared with other comparable sized districts. Why are you requesting this information or agenda item? I feel this information is important to be shared, and then we can put together a plan to get to an equitable salary range for all employee groups comparable with other districts compared to our size.
Second.
Seconded by KJ. When would you like this agenda item? As soon as possible. Are there any other board requests? Seeing none, we'll move on. Any administrative reports?
Not at this time.
All right. Everyone's favorite time, and I'm gonna call on Director Klein Jerome first.
I always enjoy when we have students come in and make a presentation. I thought that was great. I couldn't do most of the yoga poses they do, but I did think that was cool. I also like the fact that we agreed to fund the YMCA camp this summer. I think that's a great opportunity. I think it was worthwhile.
Thank you, Director Poston.
Yeah, I agree. Funding the YMCA, I think is going to be a good program for the students, and hopefully we'll get a lot of participation.
Thank you, Director Beck.
Well, I had the same one, sort of. I really appreciate the incredible athletes and scholar athletes, and then having the students here for their yoga. The other one is the fact that we are doing exit interviews for employees and collecting those data. I think that's really important to figure out how to improve our practices.
Thank you, Director Potts.
Swim team, because I don't think any of us really know how hard it is to be on a swim team. I had no idea till I had to drag my kid to the 5 o'clock practice at the old Central Pool because he didn't drive. They swim and they swim hours. It's almost like a positive cult of swimmers. It's amazing. And some of the records they broke this year were records that stood for almost 40 years. Because one of the girls whose record got broke, I was her 7th grade teacher 40 years ago. Okay, all right, but no, it was the swim team is an amazing bunch of kids who have more stamina and more focus than you can possibly imagine.
Thank you, Director Snyder.
Yeah, mine is all of the kids that were just outstanding in athletics in general, and one thing that really stood out to me is that's why we're all sitting at this table is the ladies on the swim team. Not only did they excel in the pool, but to have a team GPA of 3.75 or higher is absolutely outstanding.
Director Hayes.
I really like the yoga and the premise behind the yoga to settle the kids down. And, I was just kind of watching some of them in the audience and just doing it a little bit, trying to settle themselves down and just to kind of, rather than have a reaction for things to happen, to practice that so you can prevent some of the catastrophes from happening before they even start. So thank you, Dr. Clips, for your help with that. And we'll see, maybe we can follow up in a year or so and see how it's working, if it's helping behavioral issues.
Superintendent Schneckloff.
I was going to say the same thing Bruce did, but I'll piggyback on something different. I think with the actions, to build a state-of-the-art pool, the second that pool was in place, there's now all kinds of records being broken. So the impact that the school board can have on student outcomes, there's a great example of that. When you choose to build a new building, you choose to implement a certain program, it immediately improves student outcomes and attracts and gives students outlets. So I thought that was incredibly uplifting.
Could I just say one thing? I'd also like to acknowledge the Davenport Schools catering for the cookies.
Yes.
You're killing me. That was my spiel.
Sorry. I thought we were going to
Way to
ignore it,
wait.
but-
Well, I
Way
guess
to
we can
wait.
adjourn now then, huh?
Yeah. I thought the yoga presentation, the kiddos did a great job. All of our presentations tonight were great. And I do want to thank all of our media partners for always giving the good coverage of our kiddos doing good things. Even though you put them on the third or fourth page, at least you're acknowledging them in that little bit versus, that top half of the crease. But, whatever. You got a job to do and papers to sell. So thank you again for the bakery cookies. We greatly appreciate it. Did you have something, Director Beck?
Yeah, I also just wanted to say that the Davenport Schools Museum was the other highlight. That the fact that we have a museum and that no other district or very few other districts have that, they have an incredible collection, it sounds like, and incredible opportunities for local students. And so that, I think we need to make sure we give them their kudos.
It was a great presentation and a great recommendation by Director Klein-Jerome. With that, I will ask for entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.